At exactly 4:27 p.m. local time on October 14, 2024, 89 nautical miles east of Subic Bay, a Chinese Type 093B Shang-class nuclear attack submarine achieved something Beijing had spent $1.2 billion and 7 years of construction trying to avoid. It got caught. Not by satellite, not by some revolutionary new sensor technology, by a field of sonobuoys dropped from a P-8A Poseidon that had been orbiting the same patch of ocean for the past 4 hours, following a deployment pattern invented in 1943. The submarine's captain believed his vessel was undetected, running silent through thermocline layers that should have masked his acoustic signature. The P-8A crew knew exactly where he was, how fast he was moving, and that he was about to make a turn that would expose his port side to 3 Virginia-class attack submarines positioned in a perfect triangle 40 miles away. Someone was about to learn that stealth is a relative concept, and relativity favors the side with better friends. The Chinese believed that they were shadowing the USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group undetected, gathering intelligence on American patrol patterns in disputed waters. The Americans believed the Chinese submarine was exactly where their acoustic models predicted it would be, based on satellite data collected 72 hours earlier. The irony, both submarines were running quieter than anything in the ocean except for shrimp colonies. Both were using propulsion systems designed to defeat acoustic detection. One side just happened to know where to listen. The Type 093B wasn't supposed to be this easy to find. China had launched this particular boat, designated 417 by Western intelligence, in 2019 as part of their third-generation nuclear submarine program. Improved pump jet propulsion, anechoic tiles covering the entire hull, sound dampening systems reverse engineered from Russian Akula-class technology and refined through computational modeling that consumed more processing power than the entire Chinese stock market. The vessel, displacing 7,000 tons submerged, could theoretically operate at depths exceeding 400 meters while generating less noise than a Toyota Camry at idle. The submarine the Americans were tracking had been upgraded to the B variant in the 2021-2022 timeframe. Enhanced sonar suite, improved electronic warfare capabilities, YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles with a range of 540 kilometers, vertical launch system holding 12 missiles that could threaten surface vessels before they knew the submarine existed. On paper, this represented China's most capable undersea platform. In practice, it was about to become the most expensive training aid in the U.S. Navy's anti-submarine warfare program. Act 2. Escalation. The Type 093B wasn't built for knife fights with Virginia-class submarines. Its HEN/SQG-207 sonar system could detect targets at ranges approaching 50 nautical miles in ideal conditions. Its single-shaft pump-jet propulsor generated 30,000 horsepower while producing a noise signature measuring approximately 110 decibels at cruise speed. Impressive numbers. Advanced when the Soviet Union was still selling diesel submarines to developing nations. The 3 Virginia-class boats tracking it carried TB-29A thin-line towed arrays capable of detecting acoustic anomalies at ranges exceeding 100 nautical miles in ideal conditions. Their AN/BQQ-110 sonar suites processed more data in 10 seconds than the Type 093B's entire sonar system handled in an hour. Each Virginia boat displaced 7,800 tons submerged, carried 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles and 38 torpedoes, and operated with noise signatures so low they were classified not by decibel measurement, but by how many times quieter they were than ambient ocean noise. Inside the Type 093B, Captain Wei had exactly 3 defensive options: go deeper, go quieter, or run like hell. The first option pushed his submarine towards crush depth in waters charted by American survey vessels decades ago. The second option meant reducing speed to 4 knots, which wouldn't matter if the Americans already knew his position. The third option meant lighting up every passive sonar system within 60 miles with the cavitation signature of a submarine accelerating to flank speed. But against the P-8A Poseidon orbiting at 22,000 feet with its belly full of sonobuoys,
French fleet's
those
encrypted
defenses were like
frequency
trying to
suddenly
hide from an
synchronous
infrared
predictions was
camera by standing
unfolding
very
before
still.
our eyes. Washington's
The P-8A
reaction
crew
was the
carried
orchestrated grand
129
drama with a
sonobuoys.
single
It had
purpose
already
to lure
deployed
the Russian
48 of them
orderly
in a pattern
orchestrated
that
grand
created an
drama
acoustic
with
net
a single
covering
purpose to
200
lure the
nautical square
Russian.
miles. Each buoy listened for specific frequency ranges, processed acoustic data locally, and transmitted results via encrypted satellite link to the P-8A, to the 3 Virginia-class
Conditions,
boats,
which side
to the
will
Carrier
prevail,
Strike Group,
French Northern
and directly
Fleet
to the
Command.
Office of Naval
Information
Intelligence
centered
in
on the
Suitland, Maryland. The Chinese
largest
submarine was being
military
tracked
illusion
in
of the
real time
21st
by
century.
analysts who wouldn't see
Conditions,
the ocean
which
for
side will
another 8
prevail,
hours
French
when they
message to the
clocked out for
US.
the day. Here's the thing about nuclear submarine captains operating in contested waters. They don't calculate risk the way insurance actuaries do. Captain Wei was under explicit orders to maintain contact with the American Carrier Group, demonstrate presence in waters China claims as territorial, and avoid detection if possible. The political pressure from Beijing was immense. 3 months ago, a Chinese destroyer had been forced to break off from shadowing the USS Rafael Peralta after an embarrassingly public confrontation. Naval Command wanted proof they could operate undetected in the Philippine Sea. The strategic calculation was simple. American carrier groups had been operating with impunity in these waters for decades. A successful shadowing operation would demonstrate that China's submarine force had achieved parity with American anti-submarine warfare capabilities. It would send a message to regional allies considering security partnerships with the United States. It would provide invaluable intelligence on carrier group defensive patterns. What it actually demonstrated was that desperation follows its own terrible logic, and that logic rarely accounts for the fact that your opponent might be 3 moves ahead. Minute-by-minute progression. 13:47 hours. The P-8A Poseidon drops sonobuoy Alpha 7, 6 buoys in a hexagonal formation, each 8 nautical miles from the next.
Signal,
Water temperature 28 degrees Celsius.
Instead of
surface,
celebrating NATO's
18
fracture,
degrees at 200
satellites
meters.
reported to Moscow
Perfect
that
thermal
their
climb
submarine
conditions.
formation
The buoys settle through 3 distinct thermal layers and begin listening. Passive mode only, no active pinging to give away their presence. 13:51 hours. Sonobuoy 34 detects a faint tonal at 47 Hz. Harmonic signature consistent with pump jet propulsion. Range estimation 12 to 15 nautical miles, bearing 185 degrees. The P-8A's acoustic analysis software compares the signature against the database of 847 known submarine profiles. Match probability 94% Type 093 variant. They don't get excited. They've been tracking
in the
this
South
contact
Greenland
for
region was
73
burned
minutes.
out. One of U.S. early
13:56
warning
hours.
radar
The
stations.
Type
Washington's
093
reaction was turned
begins
out to be a
slow turn
deeply
to
meaningful
starboard.
joke from the
Standard
but
evasive
even more
maneuver,
frightening than the
probably
aggression.
routine rather than responsive. The submarine is now broadside to sonobuoy coverage, exposing its full length to passive acoustic monitoring. Every mechanical system aboard generates noise. Circulation pumps, reactor cooling, reduction gears, all of it propagates through water
but
at
just as the
1,500
world
meters
seemed
per
charged
second.
straight into
All
the
of it
French
gets
formation,
recorded,
performing
cataloged,
dangerous
and
treatment,
added to
making
the
NATO
signature
look like
database.
fools on their own.
14:03
Imaginative people in the
hours.
Kremlin could
USS
not have
Illinois,
anticipated,
a
dropping
Virginia-class
4
submarine
training
positioned
torpedoes in
34
quick
nautical
succession
miles south,
surrounding the
received
Russian ships.
updated targeting data. The Illinois had been sitting at 400 feet, barely moving for the past 6 hours. Its tow-to-race stretches nearly 2,000 feet behind the submarine, listening. Now it has a precise bearing and range to the Chinese boat. Fire control solution generated and stored. No weapons armed, not yet. The Illinois doesn't need to fire. It just needs to prove it could. 14:09 hours. The second Virginia-class boat, USS Colorado, maneuvers to a blocking position northeast of the Type 093B's projected track. The third boat, USS Vermont, maintains position to the west. The triangle is complete. 3 American submarines, each quieter than the Chinese boat they're tracking, forming a cage around a predator that doesn't know it's become prey. 14:15 hours. The P-8A Poseidon drops another pattern, this time including 1 active sonobuoy. Just one, a single active ping at 3.5 kilohertz, powerful enough to paint every metallic object within 40 miles. The acoustic pulse hits the Type 093B's hull and returns a crisp echo. The Chinese sonar operators hear it instantly. Their threat warning systems light up. Now they know someone knows where they are. They just don't know how long that someone knew they were there. What Captain Wei's operational planners didn't account for was that the Americans had been tracking this specific submarine since it left Yulin Naval Base 11 days ago. Satellite reconnaissance had spotted it transiting the Luzon Strait on October 9th. Underwater acoustic sensors on the SOSUS array detected it passing through the Bashi Channel on October 11th. The Office of Naval Intelligence had designated this contact Dragon 4 and assigned probability matrices predicting its most likely operating areas. Intelligence analysts predicted the submarine would attempt to shadow the Vinson carrier group with 87% accuracy, down to a 40 nautical mile margin of error on positioning. They knew the submarine's captain had trained at Dalian Naval Academy, graduated third in the class, and had commanded diesel submarines for 6 years before transitioning to nuclear boats. They knew his operational patterns from previous deployments. They knew he favored thermocline layers for concealment, and that he would likely